Hello IP6. Welcome to our first video lesson of the week. We are now in week 4 of our video lessons, and this is our 10th video lesson. Last week we started chapter 6, Pronouns, and today we are going to continue with chapter 6. Before we move on to the next lesson, we are going to check the homework that I set you in the workbook in your second lesson on Friday. So that was workbook page 120. Please make sure you have finished workbook page 120 before you carry on watching this lesson. So get your workbooks and we'll check that page now. Okay, so this was workbook page 120. About possessive pronouns. So we had to make sure that we were using possessive pronouns correctly, using the ones that go before a noun, and making sure that the ones that do not need a noun are the ones that stand alone. So, number 1, shall we play chess at your house or mine? Your needs to go before the noun house, but mine stands alone. Number 2, our house is much noisier than yours. So again, our goes before the noun house, but yours stands alone. With these questions, if it's got 2 things, you can have half a point for each correct answer. If there's only one, obviously you either get the point or don't get the point. Number 3, their game board is prettier than ours. We need to use the possessive pronoun their and not they are, and ours stands alone. Number 4, its design is quite unusual. You need the one without the apostrophe because we don't need to say it is. Number 5, is it my turn or hers? Number 6, it's with the apostrophe because it is time for your next move. Number 7, her queen is in danger. Number 8, you're with Y-O-U apostrophe R-E playing very cautiously. You are playing. So we don't need a possessive pronoun there. Number 9, now the difficult decision is hers. And number 10, her strategy is very different from mine. Give yourselves a score out of 10. Some of those ones where you didn't need to use a possessive pronoun may have tricked you a little bit, but I hope you all got at least 8 out of 10. Okay, this lesson, lesson 4, is about using pronouns in compounds. So we already know that a compound subject is 2 or more subjects together, and a compound object is 2 or more objects together. And in this lesson, we're going to go in a little bit more detail about how to use pronouns when we have a compound subject or a compound object. Now, this lesson is actually lesson 5 in your textbook. We've done lessons 1, 2, and 3. I'm not going to make a video about lesson 4, pronouns after linking verbs. I talked about using pronouns with linking verbs in the second lesson when I was talking about subject pronouns. If you want to, it would be a good idea to read that textbook page, and if you want to do the practice questions you can, but I'm not going to make a video about it. This is called lesson 4 on the PowerPoints, but it's actually lesson 5 in your textbook. Okay. So we know that a compound subject involves 2 or more simple subjects joined by the words and or. And we can use subject pronouns in compound subjects. But the problem is sometimes people get confused and use an object pronoun as part of a compound subject. Because they've named a noun, they think that that's the subject and the next thing that comes later should be the object. But people make mistakes, and we shouldn't use an object pronoun in the subject of a sentence, even if it is a compound subject. So a good way to avoid this is to imagine yourself saying the sentence without using the other words in the compound. So, Tonau and him walk to school. People often say things like this. Even native speakers of English will often say, oh, this person and him did this thing. It sounds normal even to me to say Tonau and him walk to school. But you would not say him walk to school. You would not make a sentence that begins with an object pronoun like this. So that means you would say he walked to school. So as part of a compound subject, you would say Tonau and he walked to school. People make the same mistake with the object of a sentence. We know that the object of a sentence comes either after an action verb or the words to, in, for, and at. And the object of a sentence can be a compound object with two or more things joined by and or, and part of a compound object can be an object pronoun. But again, we need to make sure that we don't use a subject pronoun as part of a compound object. And again, the way to avoid this is to imagine yourself saying the sentence without the rest of the compound. So I wouldn't say, the car drove right past Madja and I. People often say and I at the end of a sentence. But this is an action verb, drove right past. I wouldn't say the car drove right past I would say the car drove right past me. So that means, as part of a compound, I would say the car drove right past Madja and me. One thing I just want to remind you, I know you've done this every year, I think, but you need to make sure that if you're using the subject pronoun I or the object pronoun me, that you name yourself last in a group. So I wouldn't say I and Yuri were doing our homework. I would say Yuri and I were doing our homework. I wouldn't say the puppy was following Tube, me and Auto. I've got a group of three with me in the middle. I would say the puppy was following Tube, Auto and me. Okay, please get your textbook and open to page 288. Look at questions 1 to 9. You need to read these sentences and choose the correct pronoun in brackets. So you need to think, is this the subject of the sentence? Is this the object of the sentence? Which pronoun do I need to use? So, you and I or me are studying the French Revolution. Should it be you and I are studying or you and me are studying? You need to decide. So think, is this the subject? Is this the object? As usual, if you have your textbook, do it in the textbook. If you don't have your textbook, get paper. When I say please pause the video, press pause and press play when you've done up to question 9. So please pause the video now. Okay, have you finished? If you are finished, you can keep watching for the answers. Number 1, you and I are studying the French Revolution. This is the subject of the sentence before are studying. Number 2, Marie Antoinette and Louis XVI interest you and me. You name yourself last. Number 3, France was ruled by her and him. We've got the verb was ruled by, so we need her and him, object pronouns. Number 4, to the French people, she and he seemed cruel and unjust. So we're using the subject pronoun before the verb seemed. Number 5, the people criticised the king and her. Again, we use the object pronoun her after the verb. Number 6, they asked him and her for better laws. Again, we've got a verb asked, so we need object pronouns. Number 7, she and he lived a life of luxury. We need subject pronoun. Number 8, they and the people lived very different lives. Subject pronoun they. And number 9, a huge gap separated the people and them. Again, object pronoun after the verb separated. So give yourselves a score out of 9, please. If you got 6 or below, you might be getting a little bit confused with your subject and object pronouns, and you might need to go back and watch either the start of this lesson or even lesson 2 when we talked about subject and object pronouns. If you've only made 1 or 2 mistakes, not too bad. If you got 9 out of 9, excellent. Okay, I want you to do the same for questions 10 to 17. So you read the sentence, look at the words in the parentheses, and choose the correct word or words. So these are at the bottom of the same page, page 288, but questions 16 and 17 are at the top of the next page on page 289. So make sure you don't forget questions 16 and 17. So again, when I say pause the video and press play when you've done up to number 17. So please pause now. Okay, have you finished all the way up to number 17? If you have, keep watching for the answers. Okay, number 10. He and she ruled Russia before the revolution. Number 11. The people forced him and her off the throne. Number 12. We thought that he and Alexandra had fled Russia. Now this one you might have got a little bit confused by because you saw this verb thought, but it's a complex sentence and he and Alexandra is the subject of this part has fled Russia. Number 13, he and his family never managed to escape. Number 14, this was a surprise to the others and me. Number 15, they and I wanted to learn more. Number 16, the librarian helped the others and me with our research. And number 17, she and I found several interesting books. So please give yourselves a score out of 8 for that section and a total out of 17. Okay, that is the end of the lesson. Your homework is workbook page 124. Please make sure you finish it before you watch the first lesson on Friday. On Friday, you'll get 2 lessons. Make sure you watch the first lesson first and make sure this workbook page is finished before Friday, the 5th of February. Very quickly, I'll just show you what to do on workbook page 124. Okay, this is workbook page 124. Now, section A is very similar to the textbook work that you've just done. You read the sentence and choose the correct pronoun in the parentheses, but you also, on this line, need to write the word subject or object. So number 1, Pepe and I, or Pepe and me, formed a club to help the elderly. If you think it's the subject pronoun I, you circle I and write subject. If you think it's the object pronoun me, you circle me and write object. So please make sure you do both parts of section A. Section B, there are 6 mistakes with pronouns in this email. So you need to read the whole email and change the pronouns that are wrong to the correct pronoun. Okay, IP6, that's the end of the lesson. So like I said, please make sure you finish workbook page 124 before you watch the next lesson on Friday. Until then, thank you IP6. Bye-bye.